Hello, everybody. Wow, what a day for Ferrari. Have you had a glorious weekend? So your headline story tonight is all about Guenthersteiner, what he's been saying in the press about the rumours going on at Ferrari regarding their regret to let Sainz go. But it's a sad day for Ferrari all round. I mean, obviously, heart goes out to Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately, his dog Roscoe had to be put to sleep at the weekend. An ever-present figure over the last 10 years in the paddock, and anyone who has lost an animal will know it is like losing a family member, and it's incredibly traumatic. And honestly, Lewis Hamilton, everyone here at F1 GRANDSTAND, our heart goes out to you. So sorry for your loss. Yeah, it's such a horrible thing for people to have to go through. But what I would like to say is well done to Lewis, because here's the thing. When you have to have a pet that has to be put to sleep for its own because it's so poorly, owners that stay with their pet through that final moment and are there with their animal when that happens, it takes a special type of strength. And I tell you what, everyone who has a pet should do that, because it's the last bit of comfort they get. And anyone that doesn't do that, then honestly, it's cowardice. If you have an animal, just like Lewis, he stayed with his pet to the end. And honestly, hat off to you, Lewis. That was the right thing to do. And absolute condolences. We know what it's like. But moving on to the news. Hey, Destroy Television. R.I.P. Roscoe, exactly. Nice to have you in the chat. So, first story is all about Ferrari and Guenthersteiner. If you know him from the Formula 1 paddock as the ex-team principal of Haas, or maybe you just know him from Drive to Survive on the Netflix series. Well, he has been talking to Planet F1. It's their story, Michelle Foster. So Steiner says it's an extraordinary regret claim amid Hamilton unrest at Ferrari. Now, what does that mean? There are some people within Ferrari, this is according to Steiner, who regret replacing Carlos Sainz with Lewis Hamilton. Especially, that's been compounded whilst Sainz has been going about his business at Williams and getting that podium finish, right, in Baku. And that excellent P2 in qualifying. So I don't know whether this is Guenther stirring the pot over at Ferrari, but he's basically been saying that the decision, he's basically wading in on Hamilton, saying the decision to recruit Hamilton at Ferrari has split the camp. He said it's not the senior management, because obviously if they say recruiting Hamilton was a mistake, then it's their mistake, right? So what he's basically saying is, but within the team, there is this real unrest with that decision, and that they believe that Hamilton was the wrong choice, and a lot of people believe that Carlos Sainz was absolutely the right choice. And when you see people like Nico Rosberg in the press and other people saying that Ferrari could even come back in for Sainz because he was a perfect number two, that decision seems to be getting compounded, and a lot of people in the paddock are talking about it. But Guenthersteiner, who is never backward in coming forward with his opinions, has basically come straight out and said it publicly. Wow, there's all this unrest at Ferrari. Now, the unrest at Ferrari does get worse. Get in the chat. I want to hear your opinions on this. But the unrest at Ferrari gets worse because not only have we got this Guenthersteiner story talking about how Ferrari's infractions regarding Hamilton's recruitment and what he's doing over there, we've also got Charles Leclerc, there's a story that's come out, sorry, wrong graphic, story come out by Charles Leclerc saying he could potentially leave Ferrari for a rival as soon as 2027, because so he's going to have to go into 2026 with Ferrari, but he could be out the door in 2027 because he's got clauses in his contract. And apparently his team, like Leclerc's personal team, his manager, agent, whatever you want to call it, has been out talking to other suitors, other F1 teams, about the possibility of a Leclerc move. Now, I find this quite fascinating because Leclerc is absolutely Ferrari's golden boy, right? They signed him on a super long deal He's actually on a deal to the end of I think it's till 2028 or 29. And Ferrari obviously want him to be their golden boy and the poster boy. Ferrari's like world champion. But Leclerc, I think the incident at Baku has also pissed him off a lot. Not that he's been out in the publicly saying it, where the team order was for him to make way for Hamilton to go past him because Hamilton was on the medium tyre and he was on the hard tyre. So Hamilton could then go and attack the rear of Lando Norris, but he wasn't able to because of the DRS train in Baku. So Leclerc gave Hamilton that position. The team order came over the radio for Hamilton to give him that position back. Now, it is quite arbitrary because at the end of the day, I think there were P8 and P9 or P7 and P8. I think it was P8 and P9. And Hamilton did not allow Leclerc to come past him at the end of the Grand Prix to retake his position. Now, I'm not saying that's the whole thing. I think the car's performance on the whole has been terrible. But here's where we're going to join up a few dots. So if Leclerc's camp are talking to other suitors in a preparation to move away from Ferrari, what does he know? I'll tell you what he does know. Leclerc has also gone on record publicly to say he hates driving the new 2026 car in the simulator. He doesn't like the car. Now, I don't know whether this is all of the cars under these 2026 regulations where they're all crap and all the drivers hate driving them because of the 50% electrification, or whether it's specifically Ferrari. And then we join up the dot that we've lost both of Ferrari's lead engineers on the power unit. So Schmidt and I think Zimmerman, I think his name is, those were the two lead engineers on the Ferrari power unit, which left to go to Audi for next season. So they haven't even seen through their invention, their power unit, to see how. So we think there's just all this trouble at Ferrari that does not bode well. It makes me think that 2026 Ferrari car is going to be, you guessed it, a bag of spanners, because you don't lose your two best engineers on your power unit before anyone's even seen that power unit, unless they don't want to get credit for that power unit, because they're looking at it going, this power unit's not good. I don't want my name attached to this. And they've also said, when they left, they said that power unit, the Ferrari power unit, has not even been on the bench or the dyno. So nobody knows how good it is. And they've left to go to Audi. Now you've got Guenthersteiner saying the Ferrari camp is in disarray because of the decision to sign Hamilton and let Sainz go. And now you've got Leclerc out, and the people from Leclerc's camp out in the press saying he's not going to stay. If the 2026 car's bad, he has exit clauses and he's going to go on and he's looking for other suitors. So when you put all this together, oh my God, it does not look good for Ferrari. And the knock-on effect for Cadillac and Haas is also quite devastating, because they are getting that Ferrari power unit for 2026. So it does not look good over at Ferrari right now. And Gemma's jumping in the chat saying every great artist wants their name on their work. Exactly. If I had created a great power unit at Ferrari, don't you think I'd stay and enjoy the fruits of my labour? Because my value then goes through the roof. Right, my market value as a lead engineer goes through the roof for 2027. The only reason I'd jump ship and not see my creation hit the grid is because I'm thinking, oh shit, we have made a bag of spanners here. This is not going to be good. And that's the only reason why I'd jump ship. You could offer me all the money in the world, but I want the credit, because at least once in my life, if I'm designing an engine and it's the best engine, yeah, I want my name all over it. I don't want to leave before that happens, because the only reason why you leave before that happens is because the engine's no good. So we've got all of this put together. We are seeing this absolutely tragic situation unfolding at Ferrari. And it's not just me saying it. These stories, the Guenthersteiner stories, coming right in from Planet F1, and the Charles Leclerc, who is his story is it's right there on F1 Oversteer by Tyler Rawlinson. So these stories are out there. We're not making it up. We're aggregating the news and bringing you it all together so we can join up the dots and go, what the hell is going on? And so between us as a community, we can start joining up the dots and trying to work out what is going on over at Ferrari. But the one thing we can all agree on, it does not look good. Because Ferrari, if you look at their golden boy, Charles Leclerc, he doesn't really speak out against the team, does he? team radio, yeah, he'll say the odd thing where we go, ooh, a bit close to the bone, but always toes the Ferrari line. But for this story to get out there that his representatives are saying, hey, Ferrari, if the team's no good, I'm gone. Publicly, not even privately, publicly, that does not look good. Is he doing this to try and give the Ferrari team a kick up the arse? Because 2026 is going to come round in no time. March will come round in no time. The cars will line up in Melbourne, and honestly, it's going to come quick. And it's a major regulation change. You know, we have the big regulation changes every 5 years, which involve the power units. It's a completely new car, completely new platform. And honestly, nobody knows who's going to be quick. Nobody knows who's going to just get it right. It could be Aston Martin with Adrian Newey's car. It could be McLaren. It could be Williams, right? It could be a team from the back who ends up at the front because they've just got it right. That's the beauty of regulation changes. But all the signs at Ferrari are bloody worrying, you know. And when you've got commentators like Guenthersteiner coming out saying he's going to know, you got to remember he was at Haas, right, as team principal. He has incredible relationships with Fred Vasseur and everyone over at Ferrari. So if Guenthersteiner is saying that the Ferrari camp is torn with the decision to sign Hamilton, he's probably right. And I don't know whether Fred Vasseur is a strong enough leader to unify that team and bring them all back into line. What do you think? Do you think Fred Vasseur is the guy to bring that team back together and actually bring a strong package in 2026? What do you think, Destroy Television? Gemma, get in the chat. Do you think he's got is he the right man for the job? Because they've just extended his contract. So Ferrari think he's the right man for the job for 2026. I'm not so sure. I'd like to know what you think. But however you cut it, however you look at it, Ferrari is a mess. And I believe that the relationship between Lewis and Charles Leclerc is going to be fractured. I think whether they've been talking about it publicly, because Hamilton did not give Leclerc his place back in Baku when he was ordered to do so, all Leclerc said was, well, let him enjoy that P8 in a sarcastic tone and say, God, it's a couple of points. And he said it in a sarcastic way. But you know what he meant? It's like, listen, if you're not even going to give me that back, P8, P9, is Hamilton going to follow team orders when it's P2, P3 or P1, P2 or any other team orders? Is he? He probably isn't, is he? So problems throughout the Ferrari team, from the engineers leaving potentially a sinking ship on the power unit, to fractures within the team between Hamilton and Leclerc because of that incident in Baku. And then the team engineers who are like going, hey, you know, this recruitment of Hamilton was a bad idea. And then they go on and see Carlos Sainz be the model driver professional. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to pull that together. What, they're going to have to go on a team building exercise, you know, go and do some rock climbing together and try and get the team back together, working as a cohesive unit. But I think it could be devastating for Ferrari to lose Leclerc, because Charles Leclerc is definitely a top 3 driver, in my opinion. He's quick. He's very, very quick. And if you're Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, I think you'd all enjoy to have Leclerc in your team. He's not going to struggle to get a drive. And Aston Martin might be an option, right? Destroy Television, I'm going to get the chat. I'm not sure I'm the one to ask for a valid opinion on that. To offer a goofy answer, though, it's all a mind game for the rest of the teams. They have an absolute ripper. yeah. Well, that. There you go. Maybe. I honestly don't know. If you'd have asked me a couple of months ago about my bet on who's going to bring a good power unit in 2026, Mercedes for sure, and Ferrari would be my number 2. Which is why, by the way, between those two teams, I know it's not a serious answer to Destroy Television. It was funny, but which is why Ferrari are supplying 3 teams out of 11 and Mercedes are supplying 4 teams out of 11. Then you've got Honda coming into the game, but they've got an exclusive arrangement with Aston Martin. You've got Red Bull powertrains that are just magically making their first power unit engine with Ford, which could be a complete bag of spanners. We just don't know. And by all accounts, it has problems retaining power on long straights, which is just outrageous. And then you've got Um, uh, Sorry, you've also got, who else has got a power unit? McLaren are with Mercedes, Alpine are with Mercedes, Mercedes are with Mercedes, Williams are with Mercedes, Ferrari are with Haas, Cadillac, and Ferrari. Then you got Honda with Aston Martin, and you got Red Bull powertrains for Racing Bulls and Red Bull. I mean, it's a crazy situation, and I'm going to say it again. I'm going to get on my soapbox. Every single F1 team should have their own power unit. There shouldn't be teams supplying other teams with power units. I don't think that's right. It damages the integrity of the sport. And now these power units are getting, less complicated. By the time we go back to V8s in 2030, everyone should have their own power units. That's what I think. I'm going to get the chat. Destroy Television. Question though. Since Haas was brought up a few minutes ago, is there any news on Horner? Because I'm seeing a couple of reports he's going to Haas. Not sure how legit they are. Okay, so the Horner latest is this. The Horner options, I'll just jump into it before we get into the next story. I think we've covered Ferrari, but if you are watching this on replay, get in the chat and I will get back to you. So answering Destroy Television's questions about Horner. So nothing's changed about the Horner options as I understand it. So Horner's options are still as above. Haas has only become a serious option for Horner now because of the investment behind him. We've talked about it before. He's got all this American money behind him now. He's got venture capitalists. He's got massive investment funds like Vanguard, BlackRock, huge funds that want to back Horner in F1. So what that means is it's opened up a new door for teams like Haas, which would require a significant amount of investment. It's a real option. The stumbling block there is what Gene Haas would want. Because Gene Haas always said, and he's always been that way with his teams, he wants his own name across the top, and he wants to be in control. He would have to relinquish control of the team, and he may even have to say it may become Horner Haas or Haas Horner Racing, right? Because Horner would come in as Horner's consortium would come in as a major shareholder. Because you got to remember, Gene Haas isn't hands-on. He's over in the States. He doesn't even go to every Grand Prix. Whereas what Haas needs, by the way, is taking to the next level. Haas, the entire Haas car, pretty much 80% of it is built out of the Ferrari parts bin. Ferrari suspension, Ferrari gearbox, Ferrari power unit. It wouldn't surprise us if you've got some Ferrari aero. I think the only thing that has to do is build the chassis. So that needs to change. If they want to beat Ferrari, they can't be using all the parts out of the Ferrari parts bin. You just can't do it that way. So Haas need money to engineer all of those bespoke parts that they're buying from someone else. That's the first thing Haas need to do. Gene Haas hasn't got that money. He's not doing it. He's not investing that money into the team. That's where Horner could change things. It comes down to this. It's not Horner's only option. Do I think it's a real option? Yes, I do. I think it's a legitimate option for Horner because the money that he's got behind him would like to invest it into an American team, obviously, if they could choose. But the other options that are real are a brand new team, like we said before. I think that would be a great one for Horner, but that might not mean he gets to the grid until 2027 because 26 will be get the final FIA license for $500 million and then build the team, build the car for 2027. Does Horner want to do that? Maybe, because he's egotistical as hell and having his own racing team with his name across the top is pretty appealing. But if they can do a good deal with Haas, then it's definitely an option. The Alpine deal, though, as you can see at the top there, is absolutely not dead. That deal is still very possible. Flavio Briatore is giving clues left, right, and centre in his interviews. He's saying he uses words like that Horner's not agreed. We have no agreement in place with Horner yet. No, what he actually said was we have no agreement with Horner for the Alpine team at this time. At this time, so he's dropping hints to say the Alpine deal is still, conversations are still happening. And off the record, Flavio Briatore and Horner have been talking about this since he lost his job over at Red Bull. So what terms could he get at Alpine? He has a couple of hurdles at Alpine, one of them being Renault. because we've got to remember Renault supplied engines to Horner at Red Bull, and Horner publicly slated Renault over and over again, saying that their engines were a bag of spanners. Turns out they were, right, in a lot of ways at the time. But he's going to have but will they care? Will Renault care because they're a major stakeholder in that team? Look, they can shake hands. They can all say sorry. Will they believe Horner could be the right man to bring that team to profitability, to success, and winning ways? Well, yeah, I think Horner is a guy that could do that. And what do people care more than anything else? Winning. People will forgive your insults. People will forgive everything if you can make them win again, because that's what it's like in sport, isn't it? We forgive all these sports stars some horrendous things that they have done because people want to win more than anything else, more than they want to be morally correct at times. They want to win. And unfortunately, at the pinnacle of any sport, that tends to be the way it is. So will they get over that situation with Renault and Alpine and Horner and that relationship from the past? Yeah, they will. Because people want to win. And people will give anything to win. People would sell their grandmothers and mothers to win. That's the animal, right? Especially team principals, especially when there's big money involved. Don't think that these people aren't as ruthless as can be. They are. And winning is the only thing that matters. So that's what I think. So yeah, so with Haas, there's developments and conversations, but that we'll be looking at least probably to get an actual deal done. We could be 2 or 3 months away with Haas. The truth is, we could be 2 or 3 months away before we get an actual details of a deal. But those conversations are happening. So those are the Horner options, plus Horner Racing as a brand new entity. So those are the Horner options. But I will go into the next story I want to talk about, which is what is going on at Mercedes. George Russell, Toto Wolff, contract debacle. Okay, so I will start by saying it looks like George Russell is softening on within his contract negotiation, according to F1 oversteer and Ben Evans. So what he says is that he wants a Kimi Antonelli clause in his contract, and that George is receptive to a 1-year deal. So the crux of it are this. Let's start with the contract duration. I've been going on saying that George Russell wants a 2-year contract. That's what he wants, and that's what he's been holding out for. Toto Wolff, being the stubborn old dog that he is, isn't budging on it. So George maybe has to say, okay, I'll take a 1-year deal. But if I take a 1-year deal, I want a special Kimi Antonelli clause. And what that special Kimi Antonelli clause is that if he outperforms Kimi Antonelli next year by a certain amount of race wins or points or whatever the metrics are, then he automatically wants to get a 1-year extension in his contract. So rather than it being negotiated, because at the moment they're talking about a 1+1, and what that means is he's got a 1-year contract with Mercedes reserving the right to give him another year on the same terms. Well, that only benefits Mercedes and doesn't benefit George. So what George is saying is, okay, well, if there is going to be a +1 extension option, I want that to be automatically triggered by this special Kimi Antonelli clause, which is if I outperform Kimi Antonelli by a certain amount of points, a certain amount of qualifying positions, and a certain amount of wins even, then automatically that will trigger my 1-year extension. And he's asking for that to safeguard against the Max Verstappen issue. So what that basically means for Mercedes is it automatically would trigger George's extension for a year. And if they still want to get Max Verstappen, well, then it's Kimi Antonelli that will be moved out of the team to make way for Max Verstappen. So he's basically saying, if I hit this performance level, I will drive with Max Verstappen if that's going to happen. And he wants it to be automatically happen through this special Kimi Antonelli clause. And the other sticking point on the contract is, and I think this is fair, he wants to be on parity of pay with Lando Norris. Lando Norris is reportedly on 20 to 25 million per year. And Toto Wolff has offered him an increase in salary, but not that much. So that's where we're at. So George is prepared to concede on a straight 2-year deal and take a 1-year deal if we can have a special Kimi Antonelli clause, which will automatically trigger, or a 1+1 deal, which automatically triggers his extra year, which I think is fairly reasonable after what George has done this season, because he should be getting rewarded for what he's done this season. He's done very well. That Mercedes has done better than it should do because George is at the wheel. He scored decent points in a car that isn't really that great. He's absolutely took Kimi Antonelli to school consistently. So I don't think what he's asking for is unreasonable. The problem George has got is quite simply that he's dealing with the Wolf. And the Wolf, notoriously, according to Nico Rosberg, is a nightmare to deal with. So Toto Wolff will give you a contract offer. As a driver, Nico Rosberg said you'd come back with a rebuttal or say a rejection, but here's what I would accept. And then apparently Toto Wolff then disappears. He goes off radar. He doesn't answer calls, texts or anything. And he just sits out and waits. So all of this problem why George hasn't actually agreed a new deal and hasn't got a contract signed, it's not George waiting. What's happening is George is getting a contract offer and going, no, here's a new, that I don't want that, but I'll take this. And then Toto Wolff disappears and doesn't respond. That's his negotiating tactic. And all the while he's on his boat, because don't forget, this has been going on for ages. This was going on while he was on his boat with Max Verstappen, plotting and scheming. And George Russell just sat there waiting. And the reason why George Russell had this illness in Baku, because he didn't want to face any questions from the press. Well, it's for that reason. He wasn't, I'm guessing he wasn't even ill. He just didn't want to have the conversation of why he's not signed a contract yet. What's going on? And maybe Toto didn't want him to answer those questions either, because they're still at a stalemate. But that's your latest on the George Russell contract. But what do you think about that? It's crazy scenes. It feels to me a little bit disrespectful to George Russell, because I do think he's done well this year. I think any other team in the paddock would be pretty happy to have George Russell as a driver. So it all seems very disrespectful to me. I mean, what do you think? So Gemma says the Wolf is wolfing. He is, isn't he? I mean, it's a bold move, right? As you say, Gemma, it's a bold move. I'm not... Oh, Gemma's asking for my Toto Wolff impression. It's so bad. All right. Just sign the contract, George. Just sign the contract. You're only getting a 1-year deal. George, Toto Wolff, the pirate. I know it's awful. Destroy Television's laughing at me. It's a terrible impression. I don't know why Gemma likes it so much. But that is the situation. Toto Wolff is the guy who is slowing this down. George wants to get this wrapped up. And he wants something as a reward for what he's done this year. And here's my question. Destroy Television says it's better than my American accent. It's true. My American accent. Get in the caddy. No, we want an American driver in that caddy. That's my American accent. Everyone's from Texas. Really, it sounds a lot like Toto Wolff, to be fair. But yeah, that's the situation. But who do you think is right in this situation? I mean, George has had a win in Canada. He's taken Kimi Antonelli to school. That Mercedes is not a good car, but George has kept it respectable. And because of George's results, Mercedes could finish second in the constructors now because of that result in Baku with George and Kimi. Mercedes really could finish second in the constructors, and that Mercedes, didn't really deserve to be that high in the constructors, to be honest. It's flattering. So what do you think? Do you think that George Russell does deserve a bit more respect from Toto Wolff? Do you think he does deserve to be on parity of pay with Lando Norris? And do you think that if he has to sign a 1-year deal when he really wants a 2-year deal, there should be a special clause that automatically triggers his 1-year extension? Do you think those are fair requests from George Russell? Get in the chat and let me know if you think that's fair. I personally, I do think that is very reasonable and fair from George. So Destroy Television says, as someone who wears many hats, management being one of those hats, I'm kind of on Toto's side. Ruthless! Destroy Television showing us that he is a ruthless negotiator under these conditions. And even though George Russell's got to be a top 3 driver on the grid, done well for Mercedes, like, nah, Toto's doing the right thing. Ruthless. Destroy Television. I kind of think that because you've also got to remember, Toto has publicly gone right in front of the whole world and said, yeah, George, I'd rather have Max Verstappen in the car than you. Publicly. Like, worldwide. He's sort of mugged George Russell off, hasn't he? And said, you're a good driver, but you're not a great driver. I like you, but I don't love you. But I do love this guy. It's pretty brutal, to be honest. And this is your current driver. Literally treating him like a seat warmer at the Oscars. The star has gone to the toilet. You can fill that seat till the star comes back and then piss off. And it's pretty brutal, to be honest, because I think George Russell will find a lot of love in another team. I think somebody like Aston Martin in 2027 would be a good spot for him. And I think in an Adrian Newey car, George Russell behind the wheel, Fernando's moved on, I think that could be a good spot for him, I really do. Or we could see Max going there and Toto Wolff going, shit, the next best driver, I've already got him, and I've been treating him a bit like a second-class citizen. It'll be interesting how those politics play out, but you agree with Toto Wolff. Absolutely ruthless. Destroy Television. And what about Kimi Antonelli then? What do you think they should do with him? Destroy Television says, maybe Toto would rather have a great driver in a good car than a good driver in a great car. Here's the thing on that. A great driver in a good car can win the championship. A great driver in a great car can win the championship. But a great car, you can be a great driver or a good driver and win the championship. Which does make me realise that the car is king. Maybe Mercedes aren't confident their car is going to be king. But that's what a good driver can do. But if you've got a great car, and this is why Adrian Newey and people like him are so important and so valuable in F1. And they're the ones that should always be getting paid the big bucks over the big drivers, really. Because they deliver you a great car. Then even Lance Stroll can be world champion. And that is true. The car maketh the man and the driver. Yeah, it's that balance. But the car can change everything. Whereas, look at Senna in a Williams, right? That Williams car was awful. And even the great Senna might not have made... Do you know what I mean? It's... Schumacher, he did... He was a great driver. He won that Ferrari championship, that first Ferrari championship in whatever it was, 25, 30 years. And that was down to Schumacher. So it can happen. But you can have an average-ish driver on the grid, like a Damon Hill winning a world championship, or dare I say it, a Jenson Button. He was a good driver. Was he a great driver? Probably not. Becoming world champion. And that's what a great car can do. So yeah, that's my response to that. You may be right. Toto would rather have a great driver in a good car than a good driver in a great car. We don't know whether that Mercedes is going to be a great car. That's the real issue. Will it be? Well, we're going to have to wait till Melbourne to find out. But that's really that situation. But it is drama, isn't it? You know, we want to get this. We want it to be resolved. We love driver market news. We all find it interesting. But the Carlos Sainz and Ferrari situation is interesting because we really could see a situation where Hamilton hangs up his gloves. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Carlos Sainz back in a Ferrari. And if Leclerc left Ferrari, who are Ferrari going to get in? Because Max doesn't give a shit it's Ferrari if the car's crap. If that Ferrari's no good and the engine's no good and 2026 is a bust, it doesn't matter that Ferrari's a name. You might get Pierre Gasly, or Alexander Albon or Esteban Ocon, right? Those drivers, Esteban Ocon over at Haas, who's a much better driver than he gets credit for, he might be a Ferrari driver. Oliver Behrman, rookie, might go. If you lost Hamilton and Leclerc in a year, your Ferrari driver replacements, all you're looking at is those. You're looking at Esteban Ocon, you're looking at Ollie Behrman, you're looking at Pierre Gasly. I'll tell you a good one. Bortoletto. And but that's the driver pool. It's not going to be maybe a George Russell, possibly. Might be an option as a good driver. Yeah, Gasly is contracted to 2028. He is. He just signed it at Alpine. But would Ferrari buy him out of his contract? Maybe. Gasly's a good driver. He's a good driver. He's better than people give him credit for. And Gasly in a Ferrari might actually be an option. You never know. Maybe 2029. Who knows? But Ferrari are looking like they are in turmoil today. And then obviously with the sad news of Roscoe, Lewis Hamilton's dog, like Ferrari it's not going to be a fun place to be. And Singapore is going to be an interesting situation because the news on Ferrari all this week is not going to be good. But Singapore's coming up, and tomorrow night we will do our Singapore preview show, what to expect. That'll be a good one, so you want to stay tuned for that. 7:30 tomorrow night we'll be doing our Singapore preview. And obviously any breaking news throughout the day, I'll do a video on it in the day. So make sure you got your notification bell. Oh, I can't get my words out on. Because as the news comes out, we'll be spitting it out on F1 Grandstand. So yeah, those are your two news stories of today. Yeah, it's been fun. But make sure if you watch this on replay, get in the chat. I will respond to your comments. It's been a sad day over it. It's been a sad time over at Ferrari. I feel for Lewis Hamilton. We've had Guenthersteiner stirring the pot. We've had sad news about Roscoe with Lewis Hamilton, and we've had big news from Charles Leclerc talking about leaving Ferrari if things don't improve, and his team already talking to other teams. So yeah, it's sad times. It's turmoil at Ferrari. Oh yeah, and don't forget their lead engineers on the power unit for 2026 have buggered off to Audi. So yeah, turmoil at Ferrari. I don't know how they keep a lid on it, because when you join up all these dots, it just doesn't look good, does it? And I'm a Ferrari fan. I want to see the Ferrari doing well, the crimson reds. You know, I want to see them doing well. So yeah, it's and obviously I'd love to see Lewis Hamilton win another world championship in a Ferrari. So yeah, it's sad times over there at the minute. It really is. I'm expecting more news to come out this week about all of that. But yeah, that's actually. Oh, hey, Destroy Something says coming up close on 1,000 subs. Going to do a special live stream for it. I bet you'll get it by the end of the week. Any takers? Yeah, come on, let's get 1,000 subs. We're coming up on it. Not bad for 9 weeks of a brand new channel. It's all picking up nicely. The idea of Detroit Television is to build the best fan community on the internet, where we can expand and we can be, wouldn't it be great to be at races? Wouldn't it be great to be at test days? Wouldn't it be great to be at F1 launches? Like we want to build this channel for the community as best we can. Yeah, and from people all over the world, that's the goal. But small acorns grow into big oak trees, right? We'll celebrate the wins as we get them. First 1,000 subs will be a big win for us. So yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep giving out good content. And it's all down to the chat. You guys in the chat always make it fun. Always make it fun. I love that. And that's the best thing. And if you're watching right now, and that's great, because I know some people like to watch and not get in the chat. Get in the chat window. They're all a very friendly bunch, let me tell you. And even though I'm really glad that you're watching it, get in the chat, get interactive, have your say. Tell us what you'd like to see on the channel. Give us your opinion as well, because that's what it's all about. We can debate opinion on the stories. Tell us what you think. That's what this place is all about. It's for you, it's for us, it's for all of us. God, that sounded very Ricky Gervais, David Brent, but it is for all of us. So because of that sad story, Lewis Hamilton, Roscoe, I just want to say again, heart goes out for you, Lewis. You did the right thing with Roscoe. You always did. He'll be missed on the paddock. And I'm going to go and give my dog a big cuddle because of it. So Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Thanks to Gemma. Thanks to Destroy Television. Thanks to you if you're watching on replay. Get in the chat. I will respond to all of you. And same time tomorrow, 7:30 GMT. I'll see you then. This has been F1 Grandstand, your daily F1 news. Ta-ta.